What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this episode of the Xtra Mile Podcast. We are here with my man, Pat Campbell. I've got some interesting stuff that we're going to talk about with him. He's got some interesting stuff we're going to talk about with him. And so you guys don't want to miss this next episode of the Xtra Mile Podcast. Stay tuned right after this.
The Xtra Mile, Mr. Brightside. Yeah, I know you heard me. Stop this movement that's moving. Well, you gon' have to murder me. Overcome adversity. My whole life, Bobby Jones, Mr. Brightside. And this is the Xtra Mile.
Let's go. I am excited to get into this episode. Dude, I don't know why we haven't done this yet, but that doesn't matter because here we are. We're ready to rock and roll. From poker games to live podcasting here to your journey into real estate from bartending and all this stuff that we're about to cover, bro. I am stoked for this conversation.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Because, you know, it's cool when, like, you watch somebody go from, hey, I'm going to do this, or I think I'm going to do this, to watching them execute. And that's what I've been able to do with you, bro. It's been awesome.
No, I remember the conversation when I showed up to your house at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why I was at your house, but I was there, and I was just like, what's up? We're talking about this. And you were talking about flipping homes and investments and all that stuff. And just I started goal setting, finding out ways to make that extra dollar in order for that to happen. And when I'm on track, once I hit my 2-year mark with my real estate license, I'll be purchasing my first investment.
Yes, sir.
I'll be flipping homes immediately. The moment I can leverage myself.
I love it, bro. I love it. And if I can convince you not to flip homes and to do long-term rentals by then, I hope I can, or short-term rentals. But keeping the asset has become something I'm much more appealed to at this time. But flips are fun, so I don't want to discourage you on that either because they can be fun. Plus, with your background that I'm not going to expose in the moment because I'm going to let you tell this story. Guys, Pat's a friend of mine, but he's also become a very good professional referral partner connection in our local community. This guy's killing it right now, but I want him to take it back further, kind of walk through the processes of how he even got to the point where he was considering real estate as a career. So let's start in the beginning, bro. Are you from this area?
Yeah.
Okay.
I lived in Delaware my entire life. I was in Newcastle County up until I was probably like 10 or 11, maybe 12.
Okay. Newcastle County, like in a city? Or
Bear. I was
okay.
in Bear.
All right.
Right outside of Bear in Buckley. There used to be a Dairy Queen at the front of the neighborhood. Now it's a Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, shit. I don't know if that was an improvement or not.
I don't know. But no, it's funny because I just had to think back and it was like, what was the address of my first house that I ever lived in? And I asked my mom and it was just like, oh, man, I'm showing a house like three doors down from the house that I originally lived at. Going there now, I'm just like, this shit is tiny as hell.
Isn't it crazy? Bro, I went to my grandmother's house like a few years ago. That was her house when she was, and it's just this tiny little house.
And I thought it was the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, we were also smaller then.
Yes.
So there's that. It is interesting how you remember like certain things though, because I still remember my childhood phone number for our house.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I wasn't on my own on that. So Bear, we're
9189.
Okay. All right, Mike Jones. No, go ahead. Where do you go to after Bear? Where's the...
So Bear was basically the main part where I grew up. It's where my parents were together. It's where my parents were separated. Then I ended up moving to Dover because I was staying with my dad. And he actually was engaged to get married to this woman, Teresa. Relationship didn't last long, but still a super big supporter for like my growth and all that stuff.
That's
sometimes
cool.
good, sometimes bad.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Stayed in Dover. We moved to Frederica. I was hanging out on Barrett's Chapel Road for a long time, and then I ended up moving out and doing my own thing since.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've done some work on Bear's Chapel. I grew up on Irish Hill Road around the corner in Magnolia. So
Okay.
Yeah, so right around the corner.
I used to ride that road like the back of my hand on my bicycle. I used to ride my bicycle from Barker's Landing in Magnolia all the way to Seafood City in Felton. That was my first job I ever had.
Oh, nice.
It was like 7 miles.
Ah, man. There's already a lesson for somebody, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing I did with my first check, I was like 17 years old, is I got a half ounce and put it all in one blunt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, big old waste of money. I had that broke mentality. I spent it immediately.
Goals, though. That was your goal. After you experienced the goal, you're like, that didn't put me in the position I thought it was going to put me in.
Yeah.
Mike Faber talks about that all the time, right? He's like, we're chasing that feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you got that feeling and you're like, damn it.
Well, I mean, I was so used to being broke up at that point anyway
Right.
because my parents didn't have any money.
Yeah.
The moment I had money, I had to spend it.
Yeah.
'cause I was so
Get
used
me
to
back
that.
to my comfort zone.
Which is definitely not a good thing.
No, not at
Gotten
all.
a lot better at not doing
Not
that.
at all. Not at all. But it is interesting, bro. There's a lot of self-sabotage that comes from, being in poverty because that's what we know. There's a lot of people that will self-sabotage to maintain that position and will keep them from going to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Seafood City was your first job?
Yeah. Worked there for like 6 years because my boss was sadistic. Great guy. Fantastic guy. Ran like one of the cleanest restaurants I ever worked at. But he just had me convinced that you will never find a better job than here.
Yeah.
So stayed there for a long time. Started out as a dishwasher. Left there as the youngest bartender. And then I went to McGlynn's and I cooked there for like 3 years.
Yeah. I want to stop 1 second because what you said was interesting. A couple episodes back, we had Kelly Hurd on the show, and she talked about a relationship with the same kind of mindset, right? Where people will convince their spouse, their significant other that, you can't do better than this, or you're lucky I'm with you and all this stuff, right? It's the same concept that people try. Bro, if there is somebody inside Brightside that does not want to be there, I'll talk through that with them. And then I would do my very best to find them their home, because trying to trap somebody into working for you is never going to give you the type of team member you want anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it gives you more of a just somebody that's going to do a job, might not be the job you want them to do, but a worker that's just going to, you know what I mean? That's not going to be bought into the why. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, all right. So you end up leaving, you go to McGlynn's, you cooked there for 3 years.
Yeah. And it was a big struggle because I was used to working front of house. I was so good back of house. They wouldn't let me move forward. So I ended up, after the 3-year mark, I was just like, man, I need to make more money. I ended up going to a restaurant. They hired me as a server. Became a bartender in like 2 months because that's my bread and butter. I like just talking to people.
Right. Yeah. You're personable. You know what I mean? It's not like you're doing a disservice to the customer to be in the back of the house. I don't care how well you can cook.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice from you to hear, but I mean, from a business standpoint, I don't know. But anyway, became a bartender, quit my job at McGlynn's, ran that bar for a little bit, got talked into going to another restaurant, don't want to put out any names, gave me some false hope as far as what we could do. It was a complete conflict of interest. Within 2 months, I ended up leaving there. McGlynn's picked me back up, and I ended up running that place.
Oh, nice.
Based on the experience that I had at other places, I became one of the managers there. Happened in the middle of COVID. They cut from a business standpoint, I get it. Did I hate them for it? Yes. They cut my salary by 25% 3 days after COVID hit. And then I was just on struggle bus for the longest time. And then I was just like, man, I can't do this. I'm sick and tired of firing people, working all these extra long hours, literally just being the worst person in the world in a restaurant. So I was just like, this is not good for my mental health, and I quit. Just went back to bartending, making the same amount of money, just less benefits and a little bit less flexibility.
But less responsibility, too.
Yeah, I hate firing people.
Yeah.
That's my worst thing. I hate coming up to people with bad news. I'm non-confrontational. I'll deal with it if I have to. If it comes to a deal falling apart or not, I'm going to tell you what's wrong immediately. I'm not going to beat around the bush. But doing it for somebody else when I was getting paid a salary to do it, I was just like, man, I don't want to do this. I don't like it. I'm firing this person for no reason. They just made a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Bad news doesn't get better with time, right? So if you got bad news to deliver, I know you're going to deliver it in a sense of your business today. But at the same time, when you don't have that responsibility and you can make the same money, how could that not be appealing to somebody? You know what I mean?
It's just, I hit the top of the totem pole. I started working at some pretty high-end places, like one of the sister restaurants for Paradise Grill. I was at Seaside, working their tiki bar, working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, making as much money as possible during the summer because the off season wasn't all that great. And I kind of capped out as much money as I can make as a bartender. I could work at other places, but you can only stretch yourself so thin and be at so many places to make those tips.
Right.
So kind of hit towards the end of that. The big wake-up call for me after that, though, is when I tried to purchase my home. I remember
this, yeah.
I was making $5,000 a month. Easy money, claiming taxes on everything. And this house that was barely anything They're just like, okay, we got you an accepted offer. You're pre-approved for this amount. We got you an accepted offer. I got it for $10,000 less than asking price. I'm like, man, I'm building equity. This is going to be great. Loan officer calls me and is just like, man, I can't get you financing. I lied. Talk about a freaking wake-up call.
Yeah.
Like, here I am busting my ass at like 3 or 4 jobs at a time, doing the most that I absolutely can, making the most money that I thought was possible, like literally blowing myself away. I'm just like, wow, I'm really making this much. Like, I'm doing good for myself.
Yeah.
And then I was just told, like, hey, you can't get a house. It's just because of the lack of consistency.
Yeah.
I was going from one job to the other, and I guess that conflicted with everything. I don't know. But anyway, back then, it was just sucked.
Yeah. And so that was the eye opener. And so what's going through your mind at that time? I mean, obviously you have these conversations of, I got to do something. How does something become what it is today?
Well, my big wake up call in the middle of all that stuff is TikTok.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Yeah.
app.
Let's talk about that.
Hate
Let's
that
talk
app.
about that.
Oh my God, I hate that app.
Okay. Let's talk about why, Pat. Why do you hate TikTok, Pat?
So in the middle of COVID, I started talking about things that I like to talk about: cooking food and smoking weed.
Yes.
TikTok is an international app.
Yes.
They do not take too kindly to the herb smoking, so I was pretty sneaky about it. I started doing education about how to cook with marijuana.
Okay.
And the first video I ever posted, actually, no, it was the third video that I ever posted on my TikTok. I had it for like a year. Only posted 3 videos. The third video I ever posted got 1.2 million views.
Nice. How many followers did you gain off of that?
Like 12,000
Wow.
overnight. I woke up the next morning. I was like, what? Who are you people? And so that became my life for a little bit. Like while I was bartending and like doing the grind, I was just like, man, I'm going to be internet famous. This is how I'm going to do my big payout. I'm going to figure this out. Through the TikTok grind, I amassed like 185,000 followers because it was talking about weed. It's still technically illegal. I didn't want to show my face. I have a daughter. Until I finally was just like, fuck it. And then I started posting publicly about like everything that I was doing. And it grew and grew and grew until TikTok like slapped me on the wrist like 17 times. And we were just like, hey man, we're really going to ban your account. You got to stop doing this. And we're like, nah, I don't care. And then took it away.
Damn. And how many followers were you up to at that point?
343.
343,000 followers.
Yes.
And it's just taken. Now, were you generating income on TikTok?
Absolutely not, because it was violating the community guidelines so often. I was just like, I got to brand myself. I created an entire CBD business, like wrote up a business plan, created a website, got creditors in line. And then when my website launched, I sold $1,300 worth of products for like 2 months. And I guess the creditors caught on. They're just like, you're selling possibly illicit products, but you can no longer use us. And then I was going to have to find like a third-party way to use it. It was going to cost more money than I was going to have to pay out in order to do so. I was going to have to double the cost of everything that I had.
Jeez.
And it was just like not worth it. So it was just like, man, I'm trying to do this the right way. Like,
yeah,
taking this away.
It's crazy because I think the world and the community thinks that like this is completely opened up now, and it's not yet.
No,
It's not.
absolutely not. It's super hard to get into business with that stuff. You basically got to like, you're gonna hire a business lawyer in order to jump through the gaps to make sure that you're handling everything appropriately, so that nobody's going to be like stopping you in the midst of your tracks because they think that you're doing something illegal.
Which is frustrating because the market's huge. You know what I mean? But I guess that goes the same for anything that's not quite 100% opened up, right?
Yeah,
and
I mean, if I put like regular old weed right here and CBD flower like in front of you and put those two side by side, there's slight differences you might be able to tell. They look like the same exact thing, and that's why it's so like frowned upon, I guess, to use in the internet world, because I could easily just be saying that it's CBD and just selling illicit products and using Visa to get the money. So
gotcha.
That's why they don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I just hate it.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. I mean, you know, just because there's a market for it, you know what I mean? There's a market for prostitution that doesn't make it legal.
Yeah. No, if laws were different, I know that I could get people to invest. You would invest. Like, if it came
absolutely.
To like
I mean, we had multiple conversations about it on the front end.
Yeah, no, like even before I knew you both, like you and your wife, I was just like showed up to your house, started talking to you about this, and like the second time we had a conversation,
he was invited. He didn't just show up, guys.
Yeah, I was invited. I was talking to you and your wife. Like the conversation went on for like 30 minutes, and I was talking about everything that I knew and what I was learning, because I cooked my first edibles like weeks prior to my video going viral. So it was like, let's learn how to do this as we're going.
Right.
And I got really good at it because got super well connected with a lot of people in the legal industry that were like giving me tips and pointers, and like people that I still have relationships with to this day, that are like one of my friends, Riley. She has her doctorate in plant science, and she has like her minors in cannabis.
Wow. That's cool as shit. That's cool as shit. No, it's okay. We gotta get you a mic, Quantre. Quantre said that's dope, guys. It's okay.
Just super cool people that I met.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, well, you know, we talk about it on this show all the time. We don't have to beat a dead horse, but relationships are very important. So, you're doing this. You're working still in bartending while you're doing this. This gets stripped from you.
Well,
then what?
I mean, before it gets stripped from me,
You're good.
Before it gets stripped from me, like one thing that happens is I reach out to Zach Faust. This guy is the most followed person on TikTok in the state of Delaware. I think by some weird statistic, I'm in the top 5. At least I told myself that. So I'm just like, what's up, man?
I think some things have changed since
Oh,
then.
of course, 100%. Like 343 is nothing probably in this state. There's probably like a dozen of people like
I
that.
only have like 140, I think, right now. So
anyway, it's all that matters is the engagement and the density of followers that you have right now.
yeah, absolutely. And by the way, guys, Zach, who he mentioned, has been on the podcast a couple times. So take a look at those episodes for some clarity around who Pat just mentioned.
Yeah. So Zach, team lead from Loft.
Like 1.8 million or something like that on TikTok right now.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll check that.
It's like 1.5.
Oh, okay.
So he was
He
the
should be 1.8. Get out there and follow him, guys.
he was the most followed person in the state of Delaware at the time. I was like top 5 or something. Sat down, asked him to have lunch. This guy pulls up in a Tesla, owns a house, shows up in sweats and a t-shirt, and he was just like, "Hey man, I'm super blessed to be doing well for myself." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I have to figure this out. You're a couple years younger than me. Like, you got this figured out. I need to figure this out." So sat down, had a conversation with him, talked about real estate, sat down, talked to him and his other buddy, Austin, who's also been on this podcast. I was convinced. Took the test 7 months later, passed it, and I was a real estate agent.
Yeah, which is the easy part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the time, it was just like, this is the worst thing I'm ever going to do in my entire life. And that was easy.
The testing, you mean?
The testing is gruelingly
Oh,
boring.
it is. But and I'm not. Excuse me. Let me not set the wrong expectations for those that are going through it. It is hard. I just say that the work is done after.
Yeah.
For real estate, you know, and for any business, really, the work is done after.
You don't just jump in a super saturated field and just get business like that.
Because you have a license.
How many real estate agents do you know? Like,
dude, I'm going to say this real quick. I am so blessed that my wife is a real estate agent so that I don't have to pick between my friends to list houses and shit.
I would never get mad. I'll give.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
but still, it just becomes awkward for me. Like, you know, I've got so many freaking buddies that are real estate. I mean, what my best friend is a broker. Zach is a partner of mine in many ways, and so, you know, it's one of those things. As soon as she got a real estate license, I was like, yeah, baby, you don't know what you just did for me. I don't have to choose now. So. 1.5? Okay.
Yeah.
So Zach has 1.5 million followers. Still very.
Who cares?
That's a huge. I care. It's a huge accomplishment. It's a huge accomplishment. So.
Nah, that's definitely an achievement. It's a very good way to brand yourself.
Absolutely.
But one thing that because I made a second TikTok account because that was my life for a little. Remember that? And I got up to 20,000 followers in like the matter of a month, and then they took it away from me again, talking about the same old shit.
Yeah. It's a damn shame, man.
Weed.
Yeah. So, but I mean, in all social media platforms have those same regulations.
Probably not. And I could
Does
easily.
Instagram?
I doubt it. Instagram's probably more lenient.
What about YouTube?
Definitely, you can easily do it on YouTube.
So, dude, take the same concept and do it on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, I guess I could.
Yeah, it's hitting right now too. YouTube Shorts right now is hitting like crazy.
Yeah, ever since I think Gary Vee started backing it heavy. I mean, it's always going against YouTube is like going against LeBron James.
Well, the thing is with YouTube Shorts, you do have the same I don't want to say the same opportunity, but you have a similar opportunity to, let's say, Instagram to have a viral video without the followers.
Yeah.
Whereas typically YouTube has been based off of your subscribers and search. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Who knows? I'll probably get back into it at some point in time, but I was just so amassed in like getting that next follower, like bumping up my numbers more that I wasn't even worried about what I was posting.
Yeah.
I wasn't super worried about interacting with people.
The only reason I say that is because you did figure something out, and I don't, it's kind of a shame for that to be lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll probably go back to it eventually.
Yeah. Even if you fucking just teach somebody else and say, hey, listen, this is what I did, you know what I mean? Which I'm sure you're doing anyway. And you share anybody who's willing to ask, if you have a question for Pat, by the way, and he'll get to a point where he shares his stuff, this man is transparent. He will share anything that's been shared with him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. No trade secrets. That's how we all grow.
Yes, sir.
If you're going up against a listing against mine, though, I'm not going to give you that. No, but I mean, like, seriously, like, I'm an open book. I don't know it all, and a lot of it's just guessing, and if I could solve you guys a couple hours of trouble, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, dude, because at the very first video I ever did for the Xtra Mile podcast, I was sitting down in my conference room, and I was explaining why I was doing it. And I said in the video, I'm like, I don't have it all figured out. Every single week, I'm going to be learning with you guys from our guests that we bring on the show. And that's literally been it. The entire mission of the Xtra Mile podcast is so that I grow and they grow through this whole thing. And so, it's pretty dope, dude. I'm excited to get back into it and have you guys, like my hometown heroes, in here. Let's talk about this next step. Where do we go from weed cooking man on TikTok to and bartender to this fucking real estate phenom that we now see before us?
I wouldn't say phenom.
Dude, I've seen a lot of real estate agents go into the industry, and I have not seen anybody make as big a splash as fast as you did. You literally took your shirt off and cannonballed right into that pool.
Yeah. I don't have a choice. I guess I do have a choice, but I didn't give myself a choice.
Yeah.
Is because I put my back up against the wall. I mean, I started really pulling away from making my income as a job because it was just like worst case scenario is I'm just going to be broke.
Yeah.
I'll figure this out. And then things got really down to the wire at one point. Like I was really pinching pennies. Like I had more debt than I had money in my bank account. And that was the first time I've ever done that in my entire life because I try and be at least like a little bit money savvy. I would at least want to be able to break even at any point in time.
Yeah.
And this is the first time in my life getting into this the first couple months where I was just like, I got to put more on my credit card.
Yeah.
And I did not like doing that. I borrowed money from like one of my friends, borrowed some money from my dad just to make sure that ends met. And I was just like, I'm digging a hole. I got to get out of it. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And so I just basically my whole thing was lead generation. I wanted to nurture people, but the biggest thing at this point in time was just finding a lead that was ready to go right now. Because that's exactly what I needed. I'm not faulting people for wanting to not purchase a home at this point in time. It just wasn't going to be beneficial to my point, at least right now. So based on all the leads that I had at once, everything kind of just snowballed and was just like this went under contract, that went under contract. I basically had what originally happened. I got a referral from somebody for a listing from out of state. Zach passed it along to me. That's what gave me enough money to quit my job. After I quit my job, that's when I literally just was just like, I got to go 5 times harder than I ever have because I just kept telling myself if it was meant to be easy, everybody
would do it.
Everybody would be doing it.
Yep.
And I know so many people that are getting into this industry, and I like not going to throw out names. Like one of my buddies when I first got in, it was like super awesome sitting down and talking to him. He had been in the industry for a year, and I was like, how many contracts did you get last year? He was like 4. And I was just like, that sounds terrible. I mean, not necessarily saying it's the worst thing in the world. Like if you had $4 million contracts, like
it's a pretty good day.
But that wasn't the case.
Right.
And he was telling me how he was having to DoorDash on the side while he was waiting for other leads to come in, and he didn't want a cold call. And I keep hearing from this guy called Tom Ferry, which is a real estate coach, on his podcast, like, you got to cold call. You got to make your calls. You got to do the most annoyingly boring things every single day and consistently do it. And that's how you make a splash. That's how you make a splash. That's how you make a name for yourself.
Yeah.
You do the work 3 months prior to end up getting the results later. And those first 3 months when I was going into it, I was just like, I have to be better than everybody else, not necessarily on this team, but in this industry because odds are against me.
Yeah.
Literally the first 5 years of a person being a real estate agent, I think the statistics shoot closer to 90% of people just fall off.
Yeah. I believe that.
Don't quote me on that, but a lot of people get in this industry and go right back up because it's not easy.
No,
You're going up against like some really smart people because there's a lot of money to be made.
for sure. Yeah. We had, it's something you mentioned, you said about the saturated market. We had Chaz on a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago or whatever. And he talked about like, how much opportunity is still in so many areas, even though if you look at the listing of people representing that profession, then you might be discouraged.
Yeah.
But when you come in and you focus on what you want to do and not what everybody else is doing, and, as a comparative, right, and just focus on your goals and focus on what you're trying to accomplish, you'll see that there's plenty of lanes for all of us, and there's plenty of houses to go around. There really is.
No, a lot of people want to buy a house and a lot of people want to sell them too.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
And you're just a phone call away. You're just going to be at the right place at the right time or be the first person they think about.
So what do you think it is like, you're talking about making your calls, you're talking about doing all these things. Cool. So what you're saying is hard work is the only separator between you and so many other people? Or what do you think is really the secret sauce?
It's a combination of a lot of things. It's me having access to be able to talk to people like yourself, other people in the industry. I'm really good at talking and networking. I just reach out to people and I literally chew their ear off to figure things out. And a lot of people are very open about, like, this is what you should do. Patrick, you're a very good person to talk to. You'll be absolutely fine. I'm just talking to you. You're going to do better than most people that I have conversations with. You're going to be fine. So that went in the back of my head and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to be fine.
So you use that? You feel like that resonated with you? That you'll be fine?
There are definitely
everything
points
will just work out?
Well, not necessarily, because there were some pretty bleak moments. Like when I just recently closed out on 3 homes, like this past Friday, I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent for that month.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize, like, I was really, like, I went 4 or 5 months without work. Now I'm getting all these things under contract. I'm starting to break even now.
Right, yeah.
I'm starting to get a little bit ahead.
Sure.
But there's been points in times where I'm just like, I'm not seeing any money come in. A couple deals have fallen apart, but no fault of my own. It's just because clients are unrealistic sometimes and they jump into something before. I don't know. Anyway, but there are points in times where you're looking at me and you're talking to me when I come into the Unleash You Now podcast, and you're just like, Patrick, you're killing it. You're doing great. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, hearing that from enough people, from an outside source, from people on my team, people that I know, like, it definitely helped me keep going.
Hey guys, the Xtra Mile Podcast is brought to you by Brightside Roofing, and I want to thank everybody over at the Brightside team real quick, because without them, this wouldn't be possible. We started Brightside in 2013. It was my uncle, my cousin, and my brother who started it, and since that time, we have grown to serve over 350 roofing customers per year, and it means a lot to us because when someone chooses Brightside for their new roof, we know that it'll be the last roof that they have to put on that home. And so they could sleep comfortably underneath that roof for a lifetime. Guys, if there's anybody that you know that needs a new roof, you can count on Brightside to be the company that they can trust. Thanks again, and let's get back to the show. Okay, so that brings up a very important point then. I think we should stay on this for a second. It is super important to not be influenced by the negative that you're hearing, but it's also super important not to be influenced by the positive that you're hearing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because enough of you're doing a great job means, oh, okay, I'm doing enough. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see that in you, but I just want to make sure we take a moment on this because, when you hear enough from other people that you're doing great, you're doing excellent, you're doing so phenomenal, you start to believe that shit and you start to put yourself at a position where everybody else sees you versus where you see you.
Yeah.
And that might not be accurate. Not everybody sees the inner workings of where you stand. Not everybody sees where your financial position is. You know that better than all of us do. So you need to, and not everybody knows your goal. So if you're killing it, to me, but you're not on pace to meet your goal, are you killing it?
No.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying, right? We can abandon our goal off of community validation or the validation from others just because everybody else is saying we're doing a good job.
Yeah. So I got my license in March of this year. I want to close out on 18 different deals for the end of the year.
Yeah. You said what month did you get your license?
March, end of March, beginning of April.
Damn, time flies, bro. That's crazy. I feel like you just got your license like a month and a half ago, bro.
Well, that's when I finally just started closing things out.
Well, yeah.
You can't just. It's a 3-month
I know
process.
it, dude.
Yeah.
I know it 100%.
Your wife's a real estate
Yeah.
agent. I love her.
Yeah. Shit, dude, I'm so proud of that fucking girl. But yeah, man, I'm proud of you too, bro. You know, again, like I stated at the beginning of this episode, it's not often that people say they're going to do something and they go and do it.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. And everybody heard you say it, and everybody sees you doing it. But again, I'll bring it back full circle to what we were just talking about. Remember why you did what you did and why you're doing what you're doing, and make sure that that is the motivator. That's the goal, all the metrics that determine how happy and successful you can be are based off of those things that matter to you. Because on the outside, we could all be like, here's your blue ribbon, you did it. Here's your gold star, you crushed it. If you're not hitting your goals, then you're not crushing it, right? So
yeah, it's a breath of fresh air to finally have money in my bank account.
Yeah,
not having to struggle for like the next couple months. I could stop working and be fine, but I got to find the next deal.
Well, now, but right, and so what you now have is choice, right? Which is what I love. People talk about money and the power money gives you. Money gives you the choice to do with your time what you want to do with your time. Now, the discipline that comes along with saying, okay, I just made all this money doing these things. If I identify the specific things that brought this money in and I do more of those things and less of the shit that's not working, the more disciplined you can be about focusing on those meter moving activities and staying on task to them, you'll see that you're going to end up at a point where you're going to have an abundance of money and an abundance of time because you're being so focused with the time that you're putting in. Yeah. And that's when you can start to really do some cool things with your life, man.
Yeah. This is just the beginning.
Well, and I don't think anybody listening has any confusion about that.
Yeah.
We're excited for you, bro. That's for damn sure. Everybody watching, you know, I say listening because we're on a fucking podcast, but on your social media platforms, you know, Facebook, Instagram, anybody that's watching what you're doing, we're proud of you, bro. We know you're going to keep rocking. What I want to do now is let's talk. Let's talk to some people out there that, you know, that are in those same shoes, bro. They're making some decisions about their life. Maybe they just didn't get qualified for the mortgage to buy the house that they were after, and they want to make some changes in their life to get to where you are headed. And what would you say to them?
One thing that really like pushed me ahead is like, it's hard and it's tough. I don't know what the deciding factor was other than the fact that like, I have a daughter that I have to take care of. Some people don't have that option. I'm not saying go out and have a kid right now just to be motivated.
Go out and have a kid so you change your life.
No, it's just that I was so excited at that point in time to give my daughter something, a legacy, that she was going to be able to have it. If anything were to happen to me, this is tangible. She can have it. It's not my problem. She can do whatever she wants with it when she's at that right point in time and age. And it's just not being able to have that. Like, my daughter's been my key motivator, and a lot of the negativity that I get from other people where, like, when I first told my mom I was getting my real estate license, she was like, you're doing something else again? Like, this is like the 30th thing you've tried. Are you really going to do this?
I hope it's not the last thing you try either.
Yeah, you know absolutely not. Yeah. Like, love my mom to death, but she's just like, she's the type of person you got to figure out what you want to do by the time you're 15 and then go do it.
Right. Why do that, right? Because of safety and security?
She's been a nurse her whole life. Excellent woman.
Right, but can I just rewind for you for a second? Weren't you doing something safe and secure when COVID hit and you got 25% decrease on your salary?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talk about this often on my show, bro, and it's like what we have been taught is safe and secure. How is it? You right now, you are in control of your destiny.
Yeah.
If you go out today and you knock doors and you communicate and bring value, there's a very good chance that you're going to impact somebody's life and you're going to better yours, right? If you don't, you also know that you won't, right? But why should you be dependent on whether or not somebody else is going to knock a door, right?
Absolutely.
Figuratively, of course, but that's what we do when we put ourselves in these situations with other employment, right? We're dependent on the success of somebody else's entire entity for our lives.
Yep.
Whereas right now you've grabbed the reins of your life and you're in control. And so it's huge. It's something we talk about often in the show, but it can't be said enough, man. The idea that, you know, going to work for somebody else is a safer option, I just don't buy into it.
I couldn't do it again if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I told myself. Like, worst thing that I'm going to have to do is go back to work.
Yeah.
Like, that was the worst thing that I was going to have to do, and I would be damned if I want to do it because, towards the end, I'm just like, man, why am I doing this? Like, taking these drink orders for these people and like just taking food orders. Not that it's not a bad industry to be in. Like, you can definitely make a living, and I could have coasted through life like by doing that. I was making decent money. It's just that people suck sometimes on like the other end.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have a little bit less choice of like as far as your clientele when you're sitting at a bar, I guess.
Yeah.
And feeding people alcohol.
Right. Yeah. You can't pick your ideal client.
I mean,
in
I
that situation.
can just remember like one of the main bars that I worked at for a long period of time. Like, it was just like the same 5 people that came in every single day and had the same crappy stories about why their lives were miserable. And I'm just like, you're sitting in a bar not doing anything about it though.
And you can't say that.
Yeah.
You can't say that in that moment.
I'm not going to get paid.
Oh, shit. That's good stuff, Pat. Listen, so there's a question I ask everybody. I'm going to ask it a little earlier in this episode because I feel like the questions that I'm going to ask, if I don't ask this one, are going to have a similar answer. So I ask everybody that comes on the Xtra Mile podcast to name a time in their life, whether personal or business, that going above and beyond, aka the extra mile, how that played out for you in your life and what it's done for you in your career and your life.
Probably one of the best things that I did for myself was just quit my job. I mean, I really just bit the bullet, and I was just like, we're doing real estate full time now. I mean, I had only made like $2,500 in total at that point in time. Well, maybe a little bit more with like admin work and setting appointments for other people before I was licensed, because that gave me a job and helped me out. But just quitting my job and just being like, all right, you got 3 months, buddy. Figure it out. And like August 1st was like that 3rd month mark for me. And right now is August 10th. I figured it out. And I just getting through those months of just like, I don't have an option. I have to find this next deal that's going to come through. I have to help somebody out. I have to have these conversations. I got to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can so they can tell everybody else. And I've already got a referred client, and it's just like 6 months in.
That's good shit, dude.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that. What do you think though? Like, there's obviously all the standard stuff that you're prescribed to be a successful real estate agent, right? It's like, okay, knock doors, okay, build the relationships, this and this. What do you think it is that's changing your outcome versus most people's?
I'm creating the opportunity more than you. That's my biggest thing, is like,
how?
By putting myself in front of other people. I mean, I'm having probably twice as many conversations as the average real estate agent. Like, at least like I'm reaching out to new clients, door knocking, putting myself out there through social media and stuff like that. My main goal right now is, with as much sweat equity as possible and not spending any money, putting myself out there and looking and knowing exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. Here's my observation. Okay.
What?
My observation is that you give a fuck less about what other people think about you, a lot less than most people do. I think that you care from a position of like, I'm going to take and bring value to you, and I'm going to bring value, but what you don't care about is whether somebody thinks you're pushy or not, because if you believe in what you're trying to do for them, why shouldn't you be pushy?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't you bring it to their attention that they have all that equity in their house that's not making them any money right now, if they have a move that they could make that could put them in a way better position for their family later?
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that right now, Pat. Is that going to stop you?
Yeah.
Right?
No,
you know what I
mean? That's my biggest thing, is like, I'm having conversations with some of the newer agents that are coming on, and here I am on the phone, like I'm handling these objections like just so smoothly now, because it's second nature to me.
Yeah.
Like, somebody will be on the phone and be like, oh man, I'm not interested. Well, is there a point in time when you will be?
Yeah.
I don't know, blah, 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 blah. Probably in like a year from now. Oh, so I can follow up with you in a couple weeks just to see if anything's changed? Absolutely. Schedule the next appointment. We're going to follow up with them. It's already set up in a task. And they're just like, how do you do that? I'm just like, you just handle the objections well. That's the biggest thing, is just don't let people talk themselves out of it.
Yep.
Because,
and they will.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like one of the largest, most tangible assets that people usually own is their home.
Yeah.
So you can't fault a person for not wanting to make a move that day at that time. Like, it's something that they have to think about. It's something that they have to decide on. I hope I never get to the point where I'm just like, just buy the house. I don't care. Like, because it's a big deal. And people spend their whole lives with their family in these dwellings, and I got to make sure that I'm giving them that utmost respect and, like, help with the process, too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just try and respect that boundary and set it up as best I can.
Understood.
Where I'm going with this.
No, I like that. I think that too many people stop themselves from getting on social media or getting on, like, because they're worried about what other people are going to think of them. You know what I mean? And I just feel like you are committed to your mission to help serve people to a degree that your conviction to accomplish what you're after and to serve other people is much stronger than your worry about what other people are going to think about you.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just my observation from what I see, you know, because I see you, like, you're, if somebody's like, hey man, I want to create a piece of content, will you do it? Like, even, you don't even, they don't even have to ask you, will you do it? Because I already know you're going to volunteer. I already know you're going to jump in.
I'll help you out. Yeah.
I already know that you're going to, you know, you'll be the one that is ready to rock and roll in any situation. Yeah. And so, anyway, I think that's something to know. Like, that's something to be super aware of, because it's like a superpower, man. Because dude, we talk about it with social media content all the time. Number one reason is stopping people from turning on the camera and just talking into it is they're afraid what people are going to think of them.
Fuck them.
Right.
Fuck them. Like, if they have a problem with what you're doing.
Right, because the people that you're trying to attract won't. They won't have a problem. The people that you're trying to reach won't have a problem with it. And some will, some won't. So what? Now, there's another saying, the people that matter. Okay, so it's the mind over matter, right? The people that mind don't matter, and the people that matter won't mind.
That's something cool to think about.
I think that's a Disney quote.
Hey.
I'm pretty sure it's a Disney quote. So, but right, isn't that, I mean, that's interesting to think about, right? So, okay, post the content and eliminate the people that you don't want in your corner anyway. Why are you going to not do it? Because people who aren't rooting for you are going to not root for you. Get them, post the content. If they stop following you, good.
Fuck them. Sorry, that's my only response. But, like, think about it like this. Somebody could be having a terrible day, and you could post that one video that one person sees, and it could change their whole day around. I mean, They could gain some knowledge out of the situation. Their whole life could be changed just from you posting that.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it as, like, such a small thing. Like, oh, man, I'm going to be posting a video just like everybody else. Who cares?
Yeah. So what's next, dude? What are you after at this point?
I don't know. Investment properties, and I just want to see.
Specifically, though, come on, let's talk about it. You said you had a goal of 18 transactions for the year.
18 transactions by the end of the year.
How many have you done?
I just went under contract for my 7th.
Okay.
So I got to do 11 more.
How many have you closed?
5.
Okay. And so you have 2 more under contract.
Yes.
Dope. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And so you need 11 more before the end of the year.
Yes.
Fire.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good stuff. So what about 2023 goals?
So I actually have 2025 goals.
I'm not asking you about 2025 goals, sir. I'm asking you about next year's.
I'm going to want to... No, I mean...
Stay focused, Pat.
Based on math, 30 to 35 contracts.
Okay.
I want to have... By June 2025, I want to have 100 contracts underneath.
Okay.
Underneath my belt.
I like it.
First 3 years.
I like that. All right. So real estate investments. What are you thinking?
Immediately, I'm gonna house hack the first place I can. I'm gonna get a multifamily unit.
Oh, I love it, dude. So
because
smart.
I can. I mean, it's just me and my daughter. I just need 2 rooms.
Yeah.
I'll just be living next door to my tenant.
Yeah, bro. I'm trying to convince my daughter and her boyfriend, if that time comes, they haven't been together that long, but if that time comes, I'm like, neither one of y'all need a house right now. Y'all both can, you know what I mean? They both live with their, like, obviously my daughter lives with us, and she doesn't have to go anywhere if she doesn't want to. Her boyfriend doesn't need to go anywhere from his house. I'm like, y'all, like, you buy a rental, he buy a rental, and have that thing rented out, and then go into another one, and then go into another one. And I'm like, do that. Or like what you said, duplex. Now, the thing with you is you want to get a place for you to live too at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But guys, if you're watching and you're listening to this, if you're in a position, especially your first home, if you're in a position to do something like what Pat's talking about, this is like the hack. Jim Olson talked about this a few times. His first place was a 4-plex. Brilliant.
Free rent. He was getting paid to live there.
He bought the 4-plex and moved into one of the spots and rented the other ones out.
That was back in like the 40s or 50s.
Shut the hell up.
You were able to do that though.
Yo, we got to get Jim on the show. I got to get that. I got to get you his info so we can get him on the show too. He's fucking hilarious.
No, he's out there. I've met him a few times.
Yeah, he's a killer though.
He doesn't care about what anybody else thinks.
Another one. Yeah.
So.
Yep. And guys, you know, again, we're not talking about don't care what people think from some like, you know, lack of empathy. Like, I don't care that you know, whatever. It's not disrespect anybody. This is about respecting everybody, but respecting yourself the most first.
And I totally have this mentality, like if I'm causing you like harm in any way, like if I'm talking about something like that, I'm super empathetic. I'm not going to try and hit those points. I will listen to what you have to say. But if you're just being a little bit, in my opinion, just like cynical, like that's not going to fucking work. Like you're wasting your fucking time. Like if you're trying to be negative towards like what I'm doing without having anything to do with you, you're just being rude. Fuck you. Like I had somebody recently hit me up. And that's why I bring it out with so much power. Like, I don't even own a house right now because I'm just so new to this, and I'm trying to figure things out for myself.
Yeah.
Like, but I definitely know I've studied so freaking hard. And I have receipts to show I know how to get people inside homes.
Yeah.
I know the process.
Yeah.
I definitely have that figured out. So when I'm ready, I'll be able to do it. But somebody recently came out to me like, why the fuck would I buy a house from you? You don't even own one. And I just thought, like, and that kind of, like, messed with me because I know this person personally, and I just really thought about it. I was just like, you know what? Fuck that guy.
Right.
Like, they literally were, that's obvious, that has more to say.
So is that how you choose your divorce attorney too, bro?
Yeah.
Because your divorce attorney has to have at least gone through his own divorce?
I guess.
You know what I mean? Like, what the world? Yeah. I mean, you think every heart surgeon out there has had a heart surgery?
Yeah. That's a good point.
I'm just saying, like, what are you talking about, bro? And so, but anyway, you know, we could talk about real estate a ton. You know, one of the things that I will say, we'll go back to, and this is a little bit of a touchy subject, but let's do it, okay? All right, so there's something that you said a couple of times, and it's something that I've dove into as a concept a lot. I have 2 daughters, right? And man, there's so many times in my life where doing something for them meant so much to me, but didn't really mean shit to them. Not because they didn't want it to. It's because, for example, I grew up with crooked ass teeth. My teeth were fucked up, okay? And I got my daughter braces. I was like, oh, I'm the man. Like my daughter doesn't have to go through what I went through. And she's like, these braces suck. They hurt so bad, right? Because she doesn't have the same pain point connected to that, right? And so what's so interesting is we live off of this phrase, we want to give our kids the life we never had. A lot of times we say that, right?
Yeah.
That's selfish. We don't think it's selfish, but it's selfish. And here's why. Because what we never had might not align with what they actually want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have the option. I didn't have a power wheel. So I'm making sure you have one. Okay. I don't really want a power wheel. You know what I mean? Like, that's simple, but to that big a degree at the same time. Now, here's the other side of this, and I love the idea of, like, kids as a motivator, 100%. How could they not be, right? First of all, you just gained more responsibility by having a child. If that didn't motivate you to make more money, I don't think you're doing the math. You know what I mean?
If that's not going to motivate you, I don't think much will.
Yeah. So right, exactly. So just the math alone means, hey, you got to get a raise or a better job or do something differently with your money. But the other side of this is I've also witnessed numerous times where people have their children as such a main focus, which, again, it's an admirable comment. We talk about it often. I love my kids to death, so I want to be very clear about this. But it's so controversial, too, at the same time for me, because I've also watched tons of people who were phenomenal parents get their kids to the age of 18, 19, or 20, and then their kids stop talking to them completely for no real reason other than they just made a decision to, which, by the way, is not in the control of the parent. As much as they want the relationship with their kid, it's not there. Again, knock on wood for all of us that doesn't happen to any of us, but I've seen that. And so my question is like, what then? Like, what then is our motivator, which is why I believe our whys and our motivators, we really need to revisit them, because they oftentimes will change. But when we can identify something so big that's beyond all of that to keep going, the fuel never runs out.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? So, and again, I don't mean to challenge you, but I almost at the same time feel like I owe it to you to walk us through that conversation together, because it was something that I have a challenge with this, because I mean, look, I have 2 beautiful daughters who I love very much. I'm very proud of both of my kids. Yeah, my kids, they're great kids. Your daughter's amazing. Like, we have great kids, so how can we not be like love them, be motivated by them not be such a big part of our world? The problem is I don't feel like we can use just their presence as our motivator, because what happens when they grow up and they're no longer our responsibility at the very least, right?
I just want to at least not have my daughter rely on it, and I'm not really going to put it out there too much probably throughout her life, like, hey, I'm doing this for you. I want to at least be able to leave something behind when I pass away, to be a life-changing amount of money. If my daughter wants to do something with it, she has the option to.
I love that. I do love that, right? Because you're impacting more than just her. You're impacting the child that may come, later. You're impacting the child that may come later, or potentially.
Yeah.
And so that can be an impact one way or the other. But it's also funny. I mean, who knows? She might be a freaking millionaire by the time
she might be fucking taking care of me. Who fucking knows?
So it's just one of those interesting things that I think that, but I will say this, I think it's a tremendous thing to have like the spark started, right? The spark that gets you going, that gets the fire going, that gets the fuel, and we have to just make sure that we have a way to fuel that fire as time goes on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just my main motivator, there's not much to it. I want to have 18 deals by the end of the year, but I'm just super fucking hungry. Like, I constantly wake up every single morning and just be like, there's business out there, I have to find it. Yeah. I mean, somebody's waiting to get a phone call from me.
Yeah. I love that. Dude, we could talk all freaking day. I try to keep it around an hour just so that people can manage these listens. Make sure everybody knows where they can follow you, my good friend, so that they can stay up on your journey. My man has got to hit 18 deals by the end of the year. That means 11 today. What is today's date? Let's do this real quick.
August 10th.
It is August 10th, ladies and gentlemen. So by the time this episode releases, we'll be a few more weeks into this. So we will have to stay up to date on Pat's journey through his social media platforms. Tell us where they are.
Pat, the best way to get a hold of me is Pat Campbell 91 on Instagram. Pat Campbell, CAMPBELL 91, and you can just find me on Facebook, Patrick Campbell. I'm there.
He's the man.
Yeah, you'll find me. There's not much other stuff that I really get into, because like the big social media platforms like TikTok and before, I used to be so invested. I'm more worried about finding people locally. Not saying if you aren't from Delaware you can't come find me, but reach out to me. If you have any questions about real estate, if you have any questions about cooking your own fucking edibles at home, if you have any questions about gaining a following on TikTok, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love conversations.
Connect with this man. Guys, keep watching the Xtra Mile Podcast. We're going to bring you great guests every single week, just like Pat. And if you have something that you want us to chat about, comment. Make sure that you put that on there. I'll make sure I get a guest on that is aligned with that interest. Before we go, Pat, hit them with one piece of advice to take them from where they are to where they want to go.
You're not alone. Just realize that even in your darkest situations, like, you always have people that you can rely on, people that can motivate you, tell you that one nugget of information that can put you over the edge.
Boom. And that'll do it. See you guys next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Xtra Mile Podcast. If you're still listening, that means you learned something, or you would have turned this off. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Xtra Mile